whereas it is the beating heart of the nation, for it is the protector of the people. It makes the democratic people the rightful masters of their courts and legislatures. It is the supreme law of the country. It is the Constitution. The Constitution of India, which came into effect on 26 January 1950, is the lengthiest written constitution till date. This rigid yet flexible document has established the rule of law in the country. That is, no matter their position or privilege, no person is above the law. It has integrated the fundamental rights of every citizen, our fundamental duties, and the directive principles of state policy as its main features. Moreover, it has instituted the country with a universal adult franchise, a federal system, and a parliamentary form of government. Containing 395 articles and about 100 amendments in 8 schedules. In stimulating discussions and provocative debates, they basically juggled the country's future in their hands. Today, on the auspicious occasion of the Constitution's adoption, that is, the Constitution Day, I would like to welcome the members of the Constituent Assembly of India while we try our hand to represent how the Constitution was formed. Focusing on the language debate, the reservations debate, the universal adult franchise, and lastly, the fundamental rights. Firstly, we have India's Minister of Commerce and Industry and forthright politician Shyam Prasad Mukherjee. Next, we have the prime architect of modern polity of Assam and Assam's first Prime Minister, Lokopriya Gopinath Bordoloi. Our country's first Deputy Prime Minister, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. The head of the Constitution Drafting Committee and ardent representative of Dalit classes, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And then we have the former President of the Indian National Congress and the unanimously voted President of the Constituent Assembly, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Lastly, when we have a big round of applause for a man who needs no introduction, the first Prime Minister of independent India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Without further ado, let's enter circa 1946.
Formally declare the Constituent Assembly session open. We now need to decide what our national language will be. Hindi should be our national language. Hindi is an ancient language that has had tremendous impact on Indian history. As such, it is part of the oldest religious and literary traditions in the world. Traditions that has had influence in religious and works of art, whether we realize it or not. Hindi has played an integral part in Indian history.
I, Jawaharlal Nehru, is clearly against this motion. Talking about historical significance, there are other languages such as Bengali, Uriya and Tamil, which also has ancient and historical significance. But we are not making it the national language, so what is this hypocritical world that we are living in?
Hindi is spoken by 44% of India, where in some parts of India it's spoken in different variations. With no single spoken by the entire country, it makes more sense to adopt a national language which is widely known, rather than making another language whose original roots does not even belong to India.
Sir, let me just remind you that Hindi is only spoken by the 40% of Indians, that too in the northern region. Making it the national language will question the security and integrity of the country. In the southern regions, we can clearly see there are widespread protests and rallies, and people are agitated with this announcement that Hindi should be made the national language. People do not want that. The southern people, they do not want Hindi to be the national language. They also have their own sentiments. They also have their own views. We can't just impose a language on them.
Sir, I, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, have always worked to unify this country. Yet again, the motive is not to alienate the other regional language speakers, but to establish a common language to communicate among their fellow citizens while respecting and practicing their own respective regional languages.
I, Jawaharlal Nehru, clearly respect all your views and opinions and sentiments, but unity in diversity. India is a diverse country. We need to accommodate all this diversity and make it work. This is what makes us unique. This is what makes us Indian. for a common jurisdiction, for the country to flow smoothly, we need a common language, an official language, which can either be Hindi or English.
Those who are in favor of this motion, say aye. Aye. Those who are against, say nay.
Nay.
This motion clearly fails. Right now, Hindi and English are going to be the official language of India. Now, we should talk about the very important and the core of democracy, which is universal adult franchise. Universal adult franchise refers to the right of every adult citizen to cast one vote in the elections, irrespective of his or her caste, class, sex, religion, race, or wealth. It is the foundation of representative democracy. Democracy stands for of the people, by the people, for the people. So, universal adult franchise forms the core of it. Equality is necessary for running a nation peacefully, as well as for maintaining welfare of the people. And universal adult franchise is a reflection of equality. It upholds equality by providing all the citizens the right to vote in elections, thereby ensuring that their needs, requirements, and their necessities are met. It holds the country together. For the matter of the country to run smoothly, universal adult franchise is vital. It is not just the core of democracy, it is also the core of a peaceful country. To deny the right to vote is to deny the right to equality. It is to deny one's right to take part in democracy and let the voices be heard. And thus, I'll conclude by saying that the right to vote is the right to life. Those who are in favor of this motion, say aye. Aye. Those who are against, say nay. This motion clearly passes.
We now shall discuss more than ever, need to discuss about the caste discrimination and the need for reservations. India, like we all know, is a country with vast cultures and religious backgrounds. It has a population of about 35 crores, of which we need to see the interests of all. This to safeguard the future prospects and rights of socially backward classes, and to make sure these sections are integrated into the national mainstream society. I, B.R. Ambedkar, would like to raise the issue of reservation and right to representation in the Constituent Assembly.
Sir, the presence of you in this Constituent Assembly as the chairman of the drafting committee and your inclusion in the cabinet as a law minister clearly points out that the nation has made progress already and reservation is not at all required. You not only possess symbolic but real authority unlike Martin Luther King. Reservation strengthens caste concept in society and in the long run it will not be able to end discrimination. Reservation is a method which will be used to achieve specific political goals. In the future, there is a big chance that political parties will be created on the basis of caste and will only serve the caste group that voted for them.
Sir, while you are correct and while we have made strides forward, I am but a small speck in the large amounts of people like me who exist and wish for the same rights but do not get access or even awareness for the same. Even in the Constituent Assembly, there is a provision for religion, gender, and even provinces, but not for caste. Apart from a few handful members, like Ms. Dakshayani and Nagappa, all the members are from the upper castes. The lower caste of Dalits still can't dream of where I have reached in society, even though it is their very fundamental right. And until they achieve it, I shall do everything to give it to them.
Sir, you and some other members of this Constituent Assembly stated that reservation policy will only exist for 10 years and will only be extended if there is no change in the situation of the depressed classes, even after the 10 years of reservation. This can most probably be misused by the future governments. All the governments will extend the reservation policy for their political motive. The benefits of reservation will only be taken by the literate and privileged sections of the SC and ST community. The poor and rural people don't even know what reservation is. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar have done nothing for the upliftment of the SC community. He has only focused on his own image building.
Maybe what I have done is for myself. Maybe whatever I have done shall go to dust. But when I came into this Constituent Assembly, I came along with millions of others who could see a brighter future for them. When I and B.N. Rao first sat and talked about and deliberated upon how reservation could help the country and the people who did not get representation, I did not think about just myself, but of millions of others. India is a democratic country, and reservation is not just about equality, but rather about equity, about representation and not just reservation. I don't have much to say, but I would like to end with the proverb that a person who saves one saves thousands. And if I can even uplift one Dalit from where he is right now, I shall consider my mission a success. Thank you.
Those who for the motion, say aye. Those who are against, say nay.
Nay.
This motion clearly passes.
Greetings to all the members of the Constituent Assembly. Now we shall discuss on one of the most important topic of the Constitution, which is fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are fundamental, permanent and sacred, and ought to be guaranteed against coercive forces of a state by excluding the jurisdiction of the executive and legislature. If the jurisdiction of the executive and the legislature is not excluded, then these fundamental rights will be reduced to ordinary rights and cease to be fundamental. That is, import the significance of fundamental rights. A fundamental right should be looked upon not from the point of view of any particular difficulty of the moment, but as something that you want to make permanent in the Constitution. President, I consider free speech and expression to be the very lifeblood of civil liberty and to hold it to be fundamental. I place a high value on association and free expression for the general public and especially for minorities. It is only through them that we can make our voices heard by the government and put an end to any injustice that may befall us. The country had to go through numerous difficulties to achieve these rights, and after a long battle, they were finally recognized, and now it is time for their implementation. Liberty of the person is guaranteed. No person shall be deprived of his life, nor be arrested or detained in custody or imprisoned, except according to due process of law, nor shall any person be denied equality before the law or equal protection of laws within the territory of India. Because even the Article 13 guarantees, subject to public order or morality, the citizens are guaranteed freedom of speech and expression, freedom of the press, freedom to form associations or unions, freedom to assemble peaceably and without arms, secrecy to postal, telegraphic and telecommunication, freedom to practice any profession or trade or business. All citizens of the Republic shall enjoy freedom of movement throughout the whole Republic. However, restrictions
of the individual and the unity and the integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution.